All right, hello there YouTube and welcome back to Doing Dumb Things with Titan slash Warrior, where today with me and Bruce we're going to be going over a slam spear build that I created with Titan using the new Ordained Spear. I'll kind of go over that all in just a second here. Also, if you just want to take a look at the POB, that will be down below in the description if you want to take a quick look. But I gotta brag just a small bit, just a teensy bit for a second, because I did finally get what is easily my my most expensive item that I have. I'm sure you'll be able to guess what it is, but I wanted to just play this clip just for the memes, just for a second here, and then we'll go into the actual build. I want to brag just a bit. I'll turn off my face for this too. I guess I said break.
And we even got a chance or two. Bam. Oh, baby, never mind. Let's fucking go.
All right, and that is by far the luckiest I've ever been. That is by far the luckiest I've ever been. Anyway, so with the actual, we'll go over the actual build now, the actual character. Of course, am I using that mage blood? You bet your ass I'm using that mage blood, and we're gonna be going over that just a little bit. It doesn't matter that much, honestly. I was using this belt right here for the longest time until I got this, and it was still completely fine with it. So this is not just a build that suddenly works because mage blood is equipped. I promise you that. But this build has been really good. As you can see, we actually just did the Origin Tower. I actually just wrapped up stream and did the Origin Tower over here, which is the new boss as well. Where this spear actually comes from. When I initially made this build, I was looking around at the new uniques, new everything, because I usually like to make a new build around one of the new uniques, and I saw that Righteous Descent here has the slam tag on it, and it made me question what other spear skill out there has the slam tag, or is there another one? And then I remember that Thunderous Leap exists, which can detonate explosive spears, and so I was like, you know, we might be able to go somewhere with this. And boy, have we. This character feels really good. It's not the tankiest character I've had. It's not the thickest character by any means, but it is a lot of fun and does some pretty damn good damage. And you can and it's still relatively safe overall. So here's what that skill looks like. It is unfortunately a little bit slow. The one downside to this skill is that it has a +2 second total attack time. That sucks. So you kind of really just use it after you've stunned a target, or if you know the timing on when a target's going to officially spawn in, or anything along those lines, is usually how I've been using it. But with that, we're just going to run a map. I'll show you just kind of how it works. Extra chaos damage. I'm scared, but yeah, this will just be, we'll do just something really quick. We're not even going to do a like powerful boss or anything like that. And maybe we will. We'll do a powerful boss. Why not? And we'll just kind of showcase. Like I said, I try to go at least semi-quick through these. I could set up a boss and do something like that, but just for the sake of trying to keep things moving and kind of showcase what we're doing here, this is just everything that we have going. So usual mapping experience is just kind of running around. You throw out your explosive spears, and then when it's like a rare or a big pack or anything like that, you use Thunderous Leap. Yeah, Thunderous Leap to just land on top of them instead. And it usually does enough damage to just kind of clobber everything that's in your path, which is great. If you have a big target setup like this and you want to do that, then you certainly can. What I will note as well is that the way that this skill works is that you see these little shards around here. If you slam near one of those shards, it will consume it and empower the skill, which then does the really big area of effect, and it deals, I think, a little bit more damage, or it might just convert more of the damage to lightning damage instead of being mostly physical. But the other thing, and the more important thing, is that it does not give it a cooldown. However, if you miss, you do get a cooldown. It's like a 10-second cooldown. It's usually not that big of a deal. If you happen to whiff, or like the divinity fragment disappears while you're in the middle of your leap, it's usually not that big of a deal. Kind of want to just get out of that corner. It was just an awkward spot. Up. And there he goes. Alright. I don't want to go, like I said, I just wanted to kind of make it quick, so if I made it to the boss that early, then so be it. We make it to the boss that early. Yeah, there is an average just running around build experience. I'm also going to turn down the, I think it's the ambient sound? We'll see. I just don't want those guys RAR XDing in the background to be as loud. But, yeah, so here we are. Here we are. Do a little bit more touch up. And with that, we'll kind of roll into... let's go over gems. Sorry, I really wanted... I was recording really quickly. I needed to... wanted to be standing while I was talking about this. So anyway, gems here. As you can see, we have a lot, but it's mostly... They mostly come from gear. So our biggest one here, Righteous Descent, of course. I actually don't recall when you get the 5th gem slot. We are level 89. By God, he's broken in half, Titan. We're level 89, but it might be level 90 when you get the final slot here. I actually don't remember when that opens up. Whenever this does open up, I'll be putting close combat in here as well. That's kind of the only improvement, and I will have that will reflect in the POB as well. I will make the assumption that I have hit level 90, because I do plan to keep playing this character a little bit off recording and everything. But anyway, Righteous Descent, like I was saying, is from the Ordained here. We have Fist of War 3, Aftershock 2, Defy 2, and Elemental Armament. And those are just, you realistically... So since we're playing Titan, we do actually have a chance to create an additional Aftershock regardless of having that skill gem on here. So if you don't want to run Aftershock, you want to just run more damage in here instead, you could just put Close Combat in here. You could put, if you instead want to do Concentrated Area or something along those lines, you could. You could do Inexorable Crit if you want to just make your crits a bit more consistent with the skill itself. You could do, if you're really rich, you could do, what is it, Garukan's Resolve, which bifurcates crits. You could do that. Any number of things. Any number of things that you want to do here instead, but like I said, I personally really like, and Fist of War 3 is just for more consistent, is kind of just for more consistent ancestral slams. This means we could actually do 2 back-to-back Fist of Wars, basically, like, because, again, because of being Titan, our second slam we use ourselves is ancestrally boosted as well, so we can actually have 2 of these slams back-to-back ready to go, and be good there. So that's why I have Fist of War in here as well. But Aftershock, again, this is swap outable if you would like, but I liked having the slightly more consistent variation of getting an Aftershock there. So that's kind of why I went with that. Defy 2 is because we are running Surrounded. We're using Constricting Command here. Because Surrounded is a very good buff, and if we're going to be slamming and jumping into the fray, then we might as well be getting some huge benefits from doing so. And Elemental Armament too, because obviously we're doing elemental damage, the spear deals elemental damage, use elemental damage. And then just have all of the classic stuff here. I don't personally care about Raise Shield, so I literally can't inform you of anything there. You could throw in some more damaging buffs or plus levels into Herald of Ash, Ice, or Thunder, but it's not that big of a deal to me. So I have not done anything with them, but they're just kind of useful while you're clearing maps and everything, but they aren't really going to do anything for you when you're actually fighting big targets one-on-one. So up to you on what you want to do with these. You could throw in some extra levels. You could throw in like blind if you want to make targets blind on that. That might make your evasion portion of your gear a little bit better. Do as you please, truthfully, with there. That is all up to you. Next up here, Explosive Spear, which again is actually just a big part of our combo, and as you can see, even just sheet damage wise, actually does a lot of damage, and we are setting up here to just kind of go boom on it with our Thunderous Leap. That is kind of our whole purpose there. So, and this is without being surrounded as well. All these damage numbers are just sheet damage, but they also are showing damage without being surrounded at the same time. But it is a very good benefit that we have, and then whenever we do get a frenzy charge from our sniper mark popping, like whether it be from throwing the spear in or the spear or Thunderous Leap critting, then it gets a frenzy charge, which then deals more damage and creates ignited ground while you're doing that as well. So elemental armament here, Defy 2 again, you're going to be noticing that is very consistent. And then we have rapid attacks just so that we can kind of just chuck the spears faster, honestly. Inexorable crit here, because we wanted something to crit a bit more consistently for the sake of Sniper Mark. But if you want to move this around to say Thunderous Leap or to somewhere else, I wouldn't blame you. Like I said, if you wanted to drop like the Aftershock 2 for an inexorable crit, that would be fine to me. And then close combat too, because again, we're most of the time close range. Though realistically, Explosive Spear, we do kind of like, as we're mapping especially, you're kind of throwing it out a lot further. Like you're kind of doing one of these and then leaping the targets that you need to leap to afterward. So it's sort of up to you on if you want to run that or a long shot, I believe is the other one. But again, for the most part, we're jumping into the fray. And usually once you're in, you're even throwing spears like at your feet, like right in front of you. So close combat to me is still the better one there. But you could do long shot as well. That is up to you. Thunderous Leap here, like I said, elemental armament, close combat, Aftershock, Fist of War, Defy 2. Take this, put it up here for Righteous Descent. That's all we're doing. We're copy pasting, and it's a very, very solid skill and very fun. Infernal Cry here. This is just used to give us some more damage as extra fire damage, which is actually awesome too, because between Explosive Spear, Infernal Cry, and the fire damage we are getting off of Chernobog's Pillar here, we actually, when we ignite something, we ignite them very, very hard. Like if Righteous Descent is the thing that pops the ignite and actually sets it up on them, you'll notice that like you'll do a huge chunk of damage and then their health bar just starts melting down afterwards as well. Explosive Spear sets up some really big ignites. You can get really big ignites off Thunderous Leap. But yeah, Infernal Cry is just setting us up to give us some more damage as fire damage. It is melee attacks, so very specifically, it's also not going to count your Explosive Spears, which is actually excellent. That's what we want. So your usual damage rotation is just to kind of run in, use your Infernal Cry, Sniper Mark the thing, and then Explosive Spear and Thunderous Leap to set up. You want to Infernal Cry first because it does have a hit portion, and I've had it a few times where it crits, and that does basically no damage. So Infernal Cry first, and then use your Sniper Mark second. But otherwise, we just have in here cooldown recovery, some efficiency just to make it cost less, and then Fire Mastery just because it takes a lot of strength actually to level up. We have a fair split here, but realistically, it takes a lot of strength. It's the same amount of strength and dex. So if you're able to get more strength and more dex, then by all means, go ahead and level that up some more. But that's where that's at for now. And Overwhelming Presence is actually the aura that we are using. It is the only aura that we are using, and we just have a bunch of things set in here. So this gives enemies reduced elemental element threshold, which is great. That means we are very consistently igniting, shocking, and if we have cold damage, we're chilling. I think we do have cold damage somewhere. Yeah, we have added cold damage somewhere in our gear. So realistically, we're doing all of those things very consistently. And then also them having reduced stun threshold, so we can heavy stun them easier and then set up and do like the really big attack with Righteous Descent or anything like that. And also we get damage bonuses for them being heavy stunned anyway, so it's great. That's just kind of what we have here. And then I have Vitality 2, Precision 1, and Clarity 2. Clarity 2 is kind of mostly just for the sake of Infernal Cry or Sniper Mark. The thing that's nice with Defy 2 here as well is that it means that insufficient mana doesn't prevent the use of our skills while we're surrounded. So realistically, even though Thunderous Leap and actually Explosive Spear doesn't really cost much of anything, but Thunderous Leap costs a lot of mana and stuff, but realistically, as long as you're surrounded, that doesn't matter. So it is just for the purpose of Infernal Cry and Sniper Mark, because I've had it a few times where I'm just spamming Thunderous Leap around a map, and then I don't have enough mana for that. So it's kind of nice for that, but you can swap this out if you don't care as much. Rapid Assault here. When I initially was doing this build, my other plan was to have a way to break the enemy's armor consistently, and then use Righteous Descent to use, exploit armor? Or exploit weakness, I believe is what it's called. Let me look really quick. Yeah, exploit weakness. To make it to consume the armor break and deal a bunch more damage. That was my initial intention. And so that's why I have Rapid Assault here set up with armor break. I initially had it on Explosive Spear, but Explosive Spear's explosion converts all of its damage to fire. So that means that only the initial hit is breaking any amount of armor, and it broke basically no armor. Like, there was no point in doing it unless you're just going to sit there and chuck explosive spears until they do. There's just no point in doing that. So I have it on Rapid Assault here. No, that was kind of a test, but realistically, there's still not much of a reason for me to have or do this. I kind of just use Rapid Assault right now as a means to just kill weak enemies, or just kill something that has like that is just like a little like white target that's left after something. So I'll usually just like jab them whenever they're almost done, or that's just like the ending of the enemies. So feel free to just rotate this out, get rid of it, ignore it, whatever. It's not that big of a deal. But if you were able to find a way to consistently break armor, I could very much so see including exploit weakness in here instead of close combat too. So it's kind of up to you. What gems realistically would be able to do that, though? I guess let's take a quick peek here. I don't really know. Maybe if you want to set up Whirlwind Lance? I don't know about that, though. Yeah, I don't know. I think that's kind of like a weird one. You could, again, there's a possibility out there for it, I'm sure, but I'm not the man to think about it, so I'm not gonna. I have what I have and I use what I use. But anyway, Rapid Assault just kind of there is just like a final like execute. You could actually probably even put the I'd actually probably even put the execute support gem in here instead of the armor break stuff, but I'll just leave it in there now. It is what it is. It doesn't matter. And then Sniper Mark here again. This is just we're critting a good bit. We're focused on crit. Use Sniper Mark. Then that gives us a frenzy charge occasionally against big targets as well, which then we use explosive spear to then just deal even more a bigger boom and leave some ignited ground for us. So that's our gem setup, and that's what we'll be utilizing. It is it's quite nice. We'll roll into gear next because I've kind of gone over some of the gear so far. So we have the Ordained here, of course, is our big boy damage dealer. The thing that I will say that's unfortunate about this spear. I had a lot of fun running with this build early game as well, but realistically early game is very boring. You have Explosive Spear and Thunderous Leap. That's quite literally it. Like, you can Infernal Cry, Sniper Mark, and everything else still as well. You can still be setting up, but you won't be dealing nearly as much damage, in my opinion. And I also just might have not had a great spear, but there were times where, like, while leveling with this character was going really smoothly, and there were times where it was not going very smoothly. And unfortunately, you have to wait till level 79. That is the earliest that you can equip this thing. So it is a ways. It is a hefty distance out from the start of a character to this point where you're able to use it. So you could very much so reasonably just run like a regular lightning spear build, just run regular spears, maybe have explosive spear and thunderous leap there as just kind of like some occasional damage that you tack on as well. And then kind of swap arena once you get into maps. Or if you just want to still run around, like if you want to swap out Rapid Assault for Lightning Lance while you're cruising around, and then have Explosive Spear and Thunderous Leap and Righteous Descent as your like as your actual finishers and your big damagers, absolutely, go nuts, go ahead and do it. I just really liked having the Explosive Spear Thunderous Leap. I just thought it was fun. I had more fun doing that than I would with just running around with Lightning Spear, but you could absolutely do that. So that is that's kind of all I have to say about the Ordained, is that it's really good, but it does take a long time to get there. I almost crashed out when I was getting to the late 70s and still didn't have this thing. So be strong. It's really good. It's really fun. Be strong if you do run this character. Otherwise, per usual, you're just looking for as much damage as you can possibly get on there. 5 damage is all extra elements as well. Very solid. If you are rich and you can corrupt and get a second socket, do it. Get it. I dare you. Constricting command here, like I was saying, 4 fewer foes to be surrounded. Remember, this is something of note as well. They made it so that it used to be that you could set it to, you could corrupt it and you could get 5 fewer enemies required to be surrounded, and that means that you would technically be surrounded all the time, even when 0 enemies were around. They removed that. It's just 4 enemies now. That's the most that you can do. So by all means, just find one with 4 enemies, and this one has a pretty crap roll on it overall, so definitely get yourself a better one, but this is the roll that I'm rocking with regardless. I have a Idol of Ishta in here, but that was before I remembered that Defy 2 also means that mana doesn't matter as much. So you could also slot in a... Is it a idol? Area. Yeah, you could slot in like a bear idol or something just to have more area of effect. There's potentially some other ones in there that I don't really think of, but you could slot in some more area of effect if you want. But otherwise, the cost efficiency still ain't bad. That's still going to be good for like Sniper Mark and Infernal Cry and all that good stuff. So do whatever you want there. Shield-wise, like I was saying, Turdabog's Pillar. Turdabog's Pillar is actually a very solid shield. We are also we're block capped. While we're surrounded anyway. Let me not say we're block capped right now. But while we're surrounded, we are block capped. Block cap is 50% in this game. So while we're surrounded, we are block capped. That is giving us 50% of damage as fire damage, which is awesome. Just gives us a bunch of damage. And then just has some other good stats and other good stuff on there. Stun threshold is another big deal for this character. The more stun threshold you're able to squeeze in, honestly, the better. Because one thing that sucks is you'll be mid-leap, and then something hits you and stuns you, and then you no longer get the leap out. It sucks. So definitely try to get yourself some stun threshold. Even that Act 3 mission, get yourself some stun threshold out of that as well. Very important note, stun threshold is big for this build, because we do be out here slamming. So again, just a pocket full of really good stats out of Turdabog's Pillar here. On our amulet, we're just looking for level of melee skills, so that gives us for Righteous Descent and Thunderous Leap, and then we just are looking for resistances, life, and whatever else. You can take some accuracy, but realistically, we should be most of the time point blank, so it's not as big of a deal. And then I have allocated Javelin, which gives us 40% critical damage bonus with spears, which is good. You could also utilize Focus Thrust. I actually don't think is as good because like an explosive spear is actually a pretty good chunk of our damage, and this only applies to melee while surrounded, because projectile while there's no enemies within 3 meters, but odds are pretty good we're going to be within 3 meters of enemies. So there's that. Roll and Strike is also another pretty good addition, but both of these are actually really cheap. Guilt, Paranoia, Disgust, and Greed, Despair, Disgust, both of those are actually very cheap to anoint, so that in my opinion are probably two of the better ones to take. So I'd probably take one of those two. And then we're using the Coming Calamity here, which is just a very good chess piece. Enemies in our presence have no elemental resistances. Hey, we're throwing ourselves and leaping into our enemies. Therefore, that means they got no elemental resistances. Of course, sometimes if you're like dodging an attack and so they're out of your presence and you're chucking spears at them, then they'll have resistances, but honestly, it's usually fine anyway. Explosive Spear will both do a lot of damage and will still be good against them regardless. And then if you're able to dip into them, and as soon as you send yourself in there, they have no resistances, all is good. If you were, again, Giga Rich, and you have the thing that inverts, you have the support, or if you have two of the supports to invert enemy resistances, you could drop the Coming Calamity, use those two instead. But obviously at that point, you're rich, so who cares? You can do whatever you want. So there you go there. Rings, fairly standard. Make sure you get yourself some form of physical attack damage as life, because Life Leech from the Ordained also it recovers based on lightning damage as well as physical, so that means that we are getting more value out of that. Otherwise, just look for flat damage resistances and whatever stats you need. I have strength and dex respectively on both of these. Otherwise, just damage and resistance and life. Fairly standard as far as the rings go. Glove-wise, more or less going to be fairly standard. Critical damage bonus, level melee skills, flat damage, life, more armor, resistances, whatever you need right here. But honestly, you get 40 all res from the Coming Calamity, and just like Turdabog's has a lot of resistances, and just like so much other gear out there was just like very easy to get resistance capped, that I had consistently been sitting at well over 100% resistances before I even swapped to Mageblood. So very much so should be easy to keep on top of all of your resistances, but you know, slot them whatever you want. Also, I have an attack speed I have an attack speed idle in here, which is just for the sake of spears, just for the sake of spear chucking. But I'm sure there's some other options in there. I'm sure there's some other ones you could do in there if you really want to. And then boots over here, also fairly usual. More stun threshold on these, which is great. And then resistances, armor, life. Make them thick. and then I just slotted in some more movement speed in there because more move speed, more gooder. And then, like I said, I was using, before I used Mage Blood here, I was using this ornate belt, fairly usual stuff, life, armor, resistances. Not anything too exciting. Although I will say, if you need some more, like, if you want to try to squeeze as much damage out or as much, like, resistances out of your rings, Ingenuity here is actually also a really good option. This one rolled like crap, but you could get like a 30%er on both or something close for Ingenuity here. And I think that would also be completely acceptable to use and would also give you some more damage, give you some more life resistances, whatever else. So this would actually also be a very solid belt to utilize, in my opinion also. But otherwise, I'm using Mage Blood here, of course. You saw it. I had to brag. So Sulfur Flask, Silver Flask, Diamond Flask, and Basalt Flask is what I'm rocking right now. I think if I were to switch anything, the Sulfur Flask maybe could leave, and I would put in a Quicksilver Flask in there instead. That would be kind of nice. But I am just kind of like, I'm good with what I have here, so I'm gonna leave that. But also, I mean, also just getting two of any of these would also be nice. Like instead of maybe instead of maybe instead of one of each, maybe a double diamond or something. I would take a double diamond. So yeah, I don't know. There's plenty of options there with Mage Blood. I mean, Mage Blood is just an insane belt. So realistically, if you have a Mage Blood, per usual, much like in Path of Exile 1, you win. So just do whatever you want with that. But that's what I'm utilizing currently on that. Nothing else crazy gear-wise. Let us roll into the tree. So we'll go Ascendancy here. I initially I did Earthbreaker and Ancestral Empowerment as my first two, just because, like I said, I was running around Explosive Spear, Thunderous Leaping as soon as I possibly could. So then I wanted to take advantage of those as much as possible. But if you're doing the Lightning Spear thing, if you're just running around like that as much as you can, then I would say probably go Hulking Form. Like, take Earthbreaker or Crushing Impacts to start. And when you get to second lab and you complete second lab, then take Hulking Form, and then start making your way to Earthbreaker and Ancestral Empowerment as 3 and 4 afterwards. That is what my recommendation would be. It's probably the smarter way to play, but alas, I love playing as the thing that I'm going to play as, so Slamba it was. Actual skill tree here, we're coming on down to where eventually you're going to need Price of Freedom probably at some point. Again, it doesn't matter that much, but it is kind of nice actually to have some amount. Otherwise, you will just be, it'll be like 2 Thunderous Leaps and you're out of mana completely, and then you kind of have to wait for it to come back to cast Infernal Cry or Sniper Mark. Probably would recommend having this here as well. It's just kind of a nice little comfort pick to have. And then otherwise up here, we're going crit, of course, Barbaric Strength and Vulgar Methods, both good little things, and we're getting, of course, additional bonuses from having Hulking Form, and Impact Area and Impact Force. You could very much so come up here to Sigil of Lightning and Electrifying Nature if you would like as well. We're doing lightning damage. These are some good little lightning nodes, so could definitely say that these are some pretty solid nodes overall. Smash and Brutal are things that I took much later in the tree. I don't think these are all that crucial for quite a while. I also took the Unstoppable Barrier a good ways further down the tree because Chernobog's is level 65. So I would say don't worry about these block nodes until you kind of get to a point where you have Chernobog's and where you kind of want to be getting some more block. Unless you are feeling squishy, in which case, grab block whenever you want. Otherwise, fairly early on, I took Reaving and Impair. This was kind of, I think this was actually, might have been the first wheel I took. I went down over here and took these two first before coming up here for those crit and bigger nodes. Aftershocks here, we're using Slam. So whenever you use the Slam skill, that's what we want those Aftershocks to be huge as well. Coming down here, attack damage. Crushing Verdict is a very good node here. This whole wheel again, Overwhelming Strike, crit is very nice. And then when I got my hands on Righteous Descent, right around the level 70s, is when I actually started taking Guided Hand and Channeled Heritage down here, because you have to travel a bit further, but these are very good nodes also. And then otherwise over here, Devastation. Again, we're getting as much area of effects as we can. We got some Rage on melee hit here, so we're actually generating Rage for ourselves. You could take Blurred Motion if you really wanted to, if you feel like you want some more attack speed. Otherwise, if you want some more skill speed or something, take Blood Rush over here. This is another good little 3-pointer. So one of those two if you are feeling a bit too slow. Otherwise, Sundering, come on down. and grab Push the Advantage along with the Frantic Fighter and Favorable Odds, at least to start. I didn't take Tactical Retreat for quite some time because, I mean, it's nice, but I didn't care nearly as much. So realistically, those two nodes are very nice, but only really get those once you can put on Constricting Command, which I think is, this says level 50, but I think it's because of the idol. Yeah, the idol is level 50. The hat itself is like level 35. So you could actually come over here fairly early. And the 100% increased attack damage is a very nice early game bonus, especially. And then peek over Deadly Flourish here and Paranoia plus Thrill of Battle. When I hit level 90, we'll be taking In the Thick of It. So on the POB, it will reflect In the Thick of It as taken as my final node for this character. And yeah, that's more or less it. Just fill, you know, kind of wherever you feel like you need to. The only thing that I kind of wish I had enough points for, or I wish I could really do a bit more, something that would really tank this character up, I think, would be getting some variety of elemental damage applying, or armor applying to elemental damage, like tempered defenses over here and like this whole wheel. This wheel would be very nice. Having more gear that has it in general would be nice, but it's really hard to squeeze that in on top of trying to squeeze in a good amount of damage and, you know, still trying to make defenses. And we have our three big pieces, our chest piece, our helmet, and our shield are all uniques, which don't have that modifier on it. So it's kind of difficult to squeeze that in. I think this shield node here, yeah, Knight of Tarkus, I guess, you know, if you want to try to get that over here, to get some armor applying to LE damage and Knight of Tarkus, I could 100% see somebody doing that. I do think that would make a very big deal, or a very big difference to your survivability, is just armor applying to your survivability, to your elemental damage taken, because that is kind of like one thing that hurts, is when enemies have any kind of like LE pen or additional elemental damage, anything like that, it starts to hurt. So kind of recommend figuring something out there, or just saying fuck it and going on about your way like I have been, and just going on through your business and just trying to just destroy everything before they have any chance to retaliate. So up to you on what you want to do there. I think that's all I have for this character, though. Like I said, I had so much fun with this character. This guy was a terrific time to build, as much as I did almost crash out a few times while getting to the Ordained. But otherwise, I've had a ton of fun playing him. I've had a ton of fun figuring this character out. I spent a lot of time staring at POB, trying to think of good ways to push this character one step further. So hope you enjoyed. If you have any questions, I'm happy to try to answer as many as I can, or at least give like my thought process out. But I hope you enjoy YouTube. I think this is probably, for the time being, this will probably be my last build for Path of Exile 2 this season. I've had a ton of fun, but I think I want to take a small break, because I have some more releases for games that I'm excited about, and I also have a few other characters that I made that I ultimately wasn't satisfied enough with to make guides about. They were okay, but not satisfying enough to make a guide for, unlike this character. So yeah, I think this is where I'll leave Path 2 for the time being. My plans currently are the new Path of Exile 1 League when that comes out at the end of July. I will be playing that, of course, and I'll probably have a few build guides out for that as those characters kind of come around. And then, since it's not until like December that we're getting 1.0, which will be great, I will probably come back to Path of Exile 2 at some point in there and make another build guide or two in that time period. But otherwise, I think those are my future plans. I do also have potentially a kind of a surprise build guide coming up in the next few days, I imagine, or at least so I hope. They're going to be kind of just memes. I'm just going to put them out just kind of for the sake of it, and is going to be within the game Destiny 2, which yeah, I played a lot of Destiny 2. The last patch of that game has been a lot of fun as well. So I kind of felt like I want to do one or two. I actually might do 3 build guides total, one for each character class that I just kind of threw together for funsies, even though I know in that game there's going to be people that know far more than me, that do way more build crafting and all that kind of stuff. But I think I'm going to put out a build guide for just some fun stuff I had with each class. But anyway, like I said, YouTube, I hope you've had, hope this showcase was cool, guide thing, whatever. Hope this was fun. Hope you enjoyed watching. I'll see. I mean, whenever I see you, I'll see you. If you've still been playing, hope you've been having a great time. Until you see you next time, YouTube. Stay sane out there, Exiles.